BYD has really done it this time. Welcome back to the China EV Show. I'm your host, Toby. As usual, don't forget to give us a like and a subscribe before we get started. It helps the channel a lot. So today, we're going to be talking about BYD, yes, again, and its new product launch that will continue to let it kick ass around the world. So as we know, BYD in Q4 of last year became the global best-selling EV company, just overtaking Tesla in the last quarter of the year. The only problem with this is most of the EVs they sell are in the domestic market in China. They still haven't managed to break in a lot of global markets around the world where Tesla tends to dominate. And it just launched a new edition of one of its most popular cars. That's right, I want to talk about the Seagull. So I've talked about the Seagull before on this show. Please check the link for that video. The Seagull was launched in spring of last year, and since then it managed to gain almost 300,000 sales in the 2023 year. The model was super cheap, but it also came with some nice features. This is the reason why BYD is and will continue to be a super successful, if not the most successful brand in the world, in offering these super value products in all shapes and sizes to offer lots of different choices for consumers. And it's a thing that sets them apart. Tesla sells very well in those countries with kind of higher GDP, in America, in Europe, in China, but BYD's ability to offer these very kind of cheaper entry-level models are a reason why it will be the #1 seller and already is the #1 seller in a number of emerging markets. BYD has products to go against the Model 3, the Model Y, but it also has products much more entry level, so it can offer any kind of consumer the right EV. What do you think? Who will be the ultimate winner in the battle for global EV supremacy? Do you think it will be BYD, or do you think Tesla has what it takes to be #1? Please let us know in the comments below. Super small, affordable, but yet packed with enough tech to get you by. It was also given the nickname of the Lamborghini Mini, not only because it looks like a small version of a Lamborghini, but because one of Lamborghini's designers, Wolfgang Egger, was actually involved in designing this car. And while other brands have also brought these micro SUVs to market, we had the Wuling Mini, the Bingo. The Seagull is more of an actual car, and it has rich features. It has a decent sized battery. It has fast charging and go over 400 kilometers. So it's actually more of a car, and it could actually serve you for a long journey if you wanted to go on one. Now, the brand has released a new edition of the Seagull, an Honor Edition, and it is going for 69,800 yuan. So that's $9,600. So we're talking about less than $10,000 for an EV that can go over 400 kilometers and has fast charging. For me, that seems like pretty good value for money. And I have no doubt these cars are going to sell like absolute hotcakes. But you're probably thinking, oh, I'm never going to get to see the Seagull. Well, there you'd be wrong, because actually it has already begun launching in overseas markets after being rebranded as the Dolphin Mini, following the success of the Dolphin, a slightly bigger hatchback, in overseas markets. It has already launched in South America, and I have no doubt this will be launched in a number of markets before long. And you can be sure that you'll see these mini Dolphins on roads all over the world. What do you think of the Seagull? Would you buy one if they were selling in your country? Less than $10,000 for a decent little EV. Is that something you think your country needs? Let us know in the comments below. I think this micro EV market is a market that a lot of these other brands could stand to focus a little bit more on. A lot of Chinese brands, when they entered Europe, for example, XPeng or Neo, they came in with quite premium products. They had the XPeng, we had the P7, we had a Neo SUV, both excellent cars, no doubt. But while they offered great value for money, EU consumers had no idea who these brands were, had no idea about EVs. So for them, it was too big of a gamble to take. In Europe, it also doesn't help that a lot of these EVs are actually much more expensive than the ICE equivalent. In China, this already isn't an issue, as many EVs sell for a lower price than ICE vehicles. But if you look at those Chinese brands that sell quite well in Europe, for example, MG, they sell a kind of good value, affordable hatchback, which seems to be doing very well. As I mentioned before on this show, I believe one of the ways Chinese EV companies can get their foot in the door is offering these cheap EVs as a second car for people who already own an ICE car. That way they get to experience it, and then they can understand and fall in love with EVs. Let me give you another example. Let's talk about the US. Let's talk about Ford. Ford obviously felt like they were trying quite hard when they launched their Mach-E, when they launched their F-150 Lightning. But recently they've said that their performance of these vehicles has not been very good. And then they're actually scaling back operations, citing it to weak demand. But actually, is it a case of weak demand, or is it a case of the products you offer are not creating the demand? They're not products that people want to buy. If we continue to talk about Ford, for example, perhaps they forgot that it was the Model T, a universal car that put the world on wheels, that won the hearts of the world with cheap simplicity. Perhaps Ford will do well to remember its past when they release their future EV products. What type of EV do you think these brands need to release in order to win over consumers? Make sure you let us know in the comments below. If we take the failure in EVs of Ford in America, and then we go to today, we actually had a very exciting announcement recently, which was the release of the EV edition of the very classic Renault 5 in Europe. For me, this is European brands beginning to understand what EVs are about. The Renault 5 E-Tech, as it's known, while still resembling the original Renault 5 in its shape and its design, still manages to be very original, well designed, and most importantly, it's at the right price point. It is supposed to sell for around £25,000 in the UK. And if this is the case, I'm quite sure this will be a very good seller. For me, it's this kind of sincere product that will be able to compete against Chinese EVs. Well designed, with heart, with originality, and at the right price point. What do you think? Is this what US and EV brands need to do to be able to compete with the wave of incoming Chinese EV brands? Make sure you let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, everyone. That's all it from today. I've been Toby, and I'll see you next time on the China EV Show.